Must be Monday. Really is a Monday. Could it be a Monday? Or is it a Tuesday? Nah, it's a Monday. Nothing. Can't be talking about Tuesdays and Mondays. Man. I named my stream a podcast because a person and I talked about doing a podcast. I was like, yeah, why not? Not that I'm gonna, probably not gonna do one again. Oh, I remember that one. I remember that one also. I remember all these. I do remember every single one of these. Yeah. Things I've actually talked about in the past. Not that I'm gonna talk about them again. Probably a one-off. Not really gonna talk about too much of anything right now. I don't know. Because I basically have nothing else to do. So what I'm doing is I'm putting this out there, and nobody is gonna stop me. I guess that's the best way I could say it. Not that it's really anything really. Keep in mind, I have things I can talk about. I just don't have much planned. So I'm not gonna go for too long. I'm hoping I can just go in an hour and that's it. Let me test the audio. So I'm not gonna go for too long. I'm hoping I can. The actual thing is good. So we know the audio's perfect. I know the audio is perfect. And I have plenty of time. So what do I want to do? Well, since I am in the pro wrestling community somewhat, I change my thought politics, and sometimes I guess we could start there. It's nothing really. There is plenty going on in the political world, but there's like Diddy beating on his girlfriend in 2016. Funny enough, I've heard about that story. Only thing is, I really have nothing to say about it. Honestly, like, what do you expect? He's a celebrity. He's gonna be able to get away with it. I don't think he's getting away with it now. But hey, it happened. You know, there's worse people in Congress. They're all wife beaters and stuff. They all killed people before. It's just we don't like to pay any mind to it. That's just how it is. So going off of that, there is also the situation where I don't remember his name. Yeah, I don't remember his name exactly, but yeah, he had a trial too with Amber Heard. Oh yeah, Johnny Depp, that guy. So yeah, he had a trial because his wife Amber kept beating him. So now we have caught glimpse of Diddy beating on his wife. Looks like our power couples are demonstrating a good idea of what relationships really are. Yeah, that means don't be in one, ladies and gentlemen. If you ever think of being in one, don't be in one because then you get beaten up. This is just the inevitable. You can't escape it. The only way to get out of it is to not be in it in the first place. I have now became anti-relationship. That's just how I am for no reason because I chose to be. Yeah. Well, anyway, let's start with something that I actually do want to get into. I am working on a video. This is funny because I am working on a video now. This podcast has not been shared to anybody, and that's some people rather, yeah. But that's just because really I'm not looking to actually put this out there too much. I will be putting out a video I'm doing on Seth Rollins. actually. I had an idea pitched to me, do a Seth Rollins video, past, present, and future, and I was like, that actually sounds like a good idea. I'll do with that one. It's in the works at the moment. So I'm working on that video. Should be done pretty soon. That, just like the Cody Rhodes video. I don't know for sure, but there was the Cody Rhodes video I did, the terrible booking of Cody Rhodes. And one of the reasons why I did that video was because a lot of people were talking about how Cody Rhodes deserves a story. It was a 2-year build, and people were cheering for Cody, saying he should win it. But I told them it's basically going over why it's terrible booking and why it wouldn't work. And the reason why is that basically his story had predominantly nothing to do with the actual premise of what they're trying to tell. And usually when you go to pro wrestling, a lot of people look for stories. A lot of people like to look at the larger than life and over the top characters, right? There was Dave Rose talking about on his last podcast, I tuned into it, where like I'm a pro wrestling fan and I want to see pro wrestling, and AEW fans want to see pro wrestling. I mean, you do realize, and I'm gonna say this just to say it, and it's true. WWE and AEW are both pro wrestling companies. They both are hinged on entertainment value. Whether that's pro wrestling or my stories or my skills, it doesn't matter. They're both hinged on entertainment. Tony Khan just loves pro wrestling, that's all. That's why he's booking so much of it. Just throw them and then they overdo it. And there's that part. Paul Levesque is actually the same way. He is very much the same way. He probably likes it more than Tony, but I've been keeping up with that product. I'm not sure what Tony Khan's been doing with this product lately. I'm just aware of how he books everything. And there's a time where I did keep up with AEW to time, and there was things that were interesting at the moment. But right now, I don't think there's anything to be interested in AEW. It's just kind of bland. This last week, it did its worst live viewership, AEW. 672,000 viewers. That's dynamite. It did its worst viewership. That's record low ratings. Well, to be fair, pro wrestling has also had its WWE had some record low ratings. 1 mil and 2 mil. WWE used to break like back in the 90s, like 8 mil. Like it rivaled NFL. Now it can't even beat NBA ratings. Well, actually, SmackDown is. Either way, 1 to 2 mil. Yeah, pro wrestling ain't too hot. We ain't in the booming period. We aren't. It's just boring. But either way, Seth Rollins video. This is the thing about the Seth Rollins guy. I was doing a bit of reading on this past. Like I've read about Ring of Honor. This is funny because when I was reading it at the time, I came across like when Ring of Honor went in debt, and this was the time let's say Tyler Black, because that's Tyler Black is Seth Rollins. Tyler Black was the champion, and Ring of Honor was in debt at the time that happened. And guess what? NXT or WWE rather, NXT is the same company in WWE, but WWE has been actually scouting some Ring of Honor talent back in the day. That's where like they got Daniel Bryan, Seth Rollins, CM Punk. AJ Styles was there at the time, but he didn't go to WWE. I mean, he was in WWE before he was in Ring of Honor. But yeah, they also got Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens. They got a lot of Ring of Honor guys from. Well, yeah, they got a lot of Ring of Honor guys, and they like gutted them from a lot of their talent. Ring of Honor was in debt at that point. And they went on a hiatus in 2021, so they're basically like had no funds. And there were several like transfers to different companies because several different people became the heads and leads and owned the company at the time. But the company wasn't doing better under the managements that were being like given. So what happens is the amount of debt they had to like go on a hiatus because they couldn't pay the pro wrestlers. And else, like Ring of Honor also had some merch, so I'd also bet that they weren't even able to move. There weren't any needle movers back in that day with their pro wrestling, and if there were, they weren't doing a good job of it. So it comes to the point where Tony Khan buys the company of Ring of Honor, so it comes back again. So yeah, there's you go. Ring of Honor is saved by Tony Khan, and that's kind of like one thing that I want to say is that at least people get their jobs again, and at least it's owned by a billionaire. Yeah, so we got that done. So there's another one I want to talk about. Paul Levesque is partnering WWE somewhere in New Japan, and this is weird because like I don't know exactly the name, but Kenny Omega talk about this, and the guy isn't necessarily the moralist people of all time. So Paul Levesque seemingly could be partnering with somebody that is a douchebag and a scumbag, who also is, yeah, probably the worst person you want to partner with. But Paul Levesque decides that he wants NXT Japan, I guess, or something. I don't know why he wants to be in the partner with somebody in Japan, but he's just desperate for the Japanese talent for whatever reason, and I don't understand it. Like New Japan Pro Wrestling's already partnered with AEW. Like if so, like you might as well just count your losses, or maybe Paul Levesque thinks a Japanese talent is very important for whatever reason, even though he's got Shinsuke Nakamura and Asuka. I don't get his hang up over like Japanese talents. Like Paul Levesque is like jerking it to them. It's weird. I don't know why he likes those people. It's just another thing. So how long did I go? 14 minutes. Hopefully I can go an hour unless I get bored. I might just end it at like, I'll just do an hour. Yeah, there was one moment I did talk about like WrestleMania 40 on the stream. I didn't really cover a whole bunch of WrestleMania 40. I just covered the end. So when I covered that, it was just talking about like the ending sucked, and I still agree with the fact that the ending sucked. The ending did major bad. It was a stupid ending to go with anyway. Hey, Dave. Anyway, the ending sucked dick of WrestleMania 40. I don't know if you missed some of the stuff, Dave, but yeah. Bland and boring right now? Well, they haven't interested me yet. It's been a long time since they actually had some interesting stuff. Like back in 2022, there was a Blackpool Combat Club that started up, and that was some interesting stuff. Hell, even MJF and CM Punk had some interesting feuds. So like they had some interesting stuff back in the day in 2022. They ain't interesting now. Oh, that's fair. Either way, you did say you would like call into my podcast yesterday. I did actually want to, Dave. I would have. I'm the busiest dude around. I do keep myself busy a lot, but I didn't realize I would be like you would be doing this podcast on a Sunday, and that was the day I was busy doing my job stuff, getting my finances rolling in, and I had to keep that going. I said this last night. AEW now is better than 2019 and 2020. That's funny that you say that because I'd argue like AEW's best moments was in 2020 because that was when Jon Moxley was with the AEW Championship. To me, like he carried that company throughout the pandemic. Their roster alone proves this. I don't really hinge a pro wrestling company how good they are based on the roster. I hinge it based on the story aspects. And to me, 2020 was the best throughout AEW, and that was during the pandemic. They were able to actually entertain much more than WWE was. Their stories are more consistent. There are more promos. There could be more promos. I don't hinge my wrestling stories based on promos. What I look for is like the characteristics, how they stand out, what moves they do, why they say what they say, why they do what they do. Pre-established traits as what I go for. Somebody, why they wrestle, why are these two wrestling? And if you watched hey Bertha, if you watched, you can call in. Yeah. But the reason why I say, like, reason why I made the video, if you watch Dave, the terrible booking of Cody Rhodes, one reason why I talked about this was his character was shit. One of those reasons. You can call in if you want. I'd like to talk to you about it. Throw your niggers. I could do a StreamYard call in. You want to do Skype or StreamYards? I don't really give a shit. So anyway. Yeah, thanks. Hey, I'm hoping I'm doing more lives. I've said this before. I'm working on a Seth Rollins video. Okay. Yeah, I really was hoping to. I really wish I was able to call in. I was listening in, Dave. I really was. So I was catching everything you said. So you can do Skype or StreamYards. I don't care. Yeah, but I talked about how when I was talking to a friend and stuff, he was telling me, like, I asked him, "Hey, would you listen to a podcast I do?" Because we were talking about how podcasters like suck dick, like they all like try to be like this contrarian, or they just have stupid opinions. Like, if you're gonna be a podcaster at all, first, I expect you to be funny. If not, at least be a smart man or a woman, whatever. Don't care. If you're a fucking idiot, fuck off. Like, you're in the call. There you are at the stage. What is up, Dave, bro?
Happy Victoria Day, although you don't celebrate. That's what we're celebrating here. So I have the day off. A beautiful day today here in Ontario. Beautiful blue skies, not a cloud in sight, and the sun has been shining.
Well, I hope this stream relaxes you a lot more because
no, you're starting to work me up. That's why I had to call in and impose on with my strong arm and dictate to people. But and I guess I bring the numbers because now there's more people watching. But regardless, okay, you say that AEW is bland, but have you been consistently watching?
Well, no, I have not been.
Okay, so basically, you're stating this as an outsider who, although sees what kind of roster they've got, what kind of people are working there, there's nothing that you are seeing, even just briefly through social media, whatever, commercials, whatnot, that would entice you to tune in and be like, yeah, I don't know about that. I'm kind of curious. So you're running in that way, it seems. Because if you were watching the product right now, you'd be fucking excited. If you like professional wrestling, and I think I got some sort of like weird explanation from you earlier, because you're like saying you don't judge the product for the promos and stuff, but you literally just prior to that were saying that the storytelling and all that. Well, in a certain way, you were more referring to the speaking and stuff, and you did say story, but story can be told in the ring.
Trying to say, Dave, I'm not saying like don't cut promos. I'm saying how they speak and how they say.
No. What I'm talking about is, okay, so what is your motivation to watch wrestling? Because you're saying that AEW is not showing anything, even though you're not watching it. It's not showing anything to you outside of their promotion to convince you to tune in to the promotion. So what is it? again, what is it specifically that drives you to watch a wrestling show? Because it sounds more like you prefer, because you said, when you started this video, WWE and AEW are both wrestling companies. You're wrong. I've already fucking got into detail this on my podcast, but you're wrong. Sports entertainment. Again, remember the infamous call between Ted Turner and Vince McMahon, and Ted tells Vince, well, I'm in the wrestling business. And McMahon's like, well, that's perfectly fine. We're in the entertainment business. And the whole term sports entertainment, where else do you see that? Only WWE. They basically coined the term. So if you're watching WWE, you're not watching for the wrestling. I showed some of these tweets that are just going viral right now of people saying, we WWE fans don't want wrestling. So
that's not true, Todd, because what Paul Levesque is the one running creative, just so you know. So he's the one booking the shows. Just this week, he's had a lot more wrestling on his product, and probably a lot more since it's a 3-hour show. Paul Levesque.
No, this past week, no, but the prior week to that, yes, there was a noticeable difference. I cover the minutes of wrestling done each week on my show. And there was a drastic increase. It was quite noticeable. There's also a noticeable downward trend from AEW doing wrestling, and also, well, basically promoting promos and talking and all that sort of thing. But this past week, Raw was, I think, 39% of a 3-hour show of how much wrestling they actually showed. So basically, the rest was all fucking talk.
Well,
they're
yeah,
not a wrestling company. They're a sports entertainment company. If you like sports entertainment, flashy lights and smoke and all that, okay. I'm not going to say it's fine. I'm going to say, okay, that's your preference. But don't tell me, again, take that W out from wrestling and replace it with Weinstein, and I'm okay with that, because it's not a wrestling company. Maybe, it's a TV show that might feature some wrestling, and I'm stretched to say that. But it's not. Go ahead. Sorry, it's your show after all.
I'm saying, this is what I'm saying. Paul Levesque actually likes pro wrestling a lot, just as much as Tony Khan does.
Then how do you explain? How do you explain so much promo and talking as opposed to wrestling?
Well, I find the promos to be boring on WWE, to be quite frank with you. So this is like, that's one of the reasons.
Again, what would you rather be seeing? Because you say it sounds like you don't want to be seeing the wrestling. Maybe I'm just misinterpreting, but okay, so he's booking the stuff, but it's the same formula in the sense that let them talk a lot and wrestle a few minutes in the ring and we're good. As opposed to some matches in AEW, they go 15, 20 minutes. Actually, Castagnoli did a match, I think it was with Swerve, that lasted longer than the wrestling on Raw. So 20 minutes, or maybe SmackDown, but regardless, he wrestled for 20 minutes, and there was only 20 minutes of combined wrestling on that WWE show. That's fucking insane.
20 minutes more combined on the WWE show?
No. Okay, so the match between Castagnoli and Swerve, 20 minutes. I believe it was them. And the entirety of all wrestling on, again, it had to have been SmackDown, was 20 minutes in total. The rest was talking. I showed these graphics on my show. Again, I don't know if you said you listened to one of them, so you've clearly gone back and listened to one of them.
No, I haven't seen the graphs necessarily.
Okay, because I am using, I know it's a podcast and all that, but I'm also using visuals, and I am displaying the breakdown of this information, its sources, and where you can look this up yourself. But yeah, those are the numbers.
Yeah.
Again, that's the feature of my show, is that I start this thing off by saying this is how much wrestling we had in all the companies that are out there. Well, most of them, but
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying, Dave. It's not the fact that I hate promos or I hate the wrestling aspect. Even Paul Levesque, I'm critical on Paul Levesque more than I am critical of Tony Khan. There's a reason why I haven't been keeping up with AEW. Tony Khan, to me, comes off as this guy who is a major super fan of this stuff. He started AEW and bought Ring of Honor because he was a big fan of what Ring of Honor was doing at the time. Ring of Honor had the booking mentality. Long matches, great matches and all that stuff, 5-star classics, and that's why he likes Ring of Honor. He was a fan of Ring of Honor.
Yes, but it's also a very smart business move because basically, and I can't remember, we talked about this yesterday on my show, but I can't remember the company that bought out TNA. And basically, their main motivation was they had a library of videos that they could then feature exclusively through their platforms, and they would be able to bank on that, make money. That's a big reason why WWE bought out WCW, had this fucking library of all this footage that you could eventually put, and they look to the future on this, eventually put on a streaming service where people, would pay to access this sort of thing. So Tony Khan's main motivation was to save this company because it was going to go out of business. And he's re-injected it amazingly. It's got legitimacy. It's enjoyable to watch. But he also has access to that massive library that people, actual wrestling fans, have shown they're willing to pay a monthly subscription to be, able to watch whatever the fuck they want, no matter when.
I will say that is a good thing, and I'm glad the people who are at Ring of Honor at the time also are able to work again because they went on a hiatus on 2021. That's what I do like about what Tony Khan did. He gave people incentive to work and pro wrestle again.
Opportunities. So gave them opportunities.
Yeah, that's what I do like. I heard Ronda Rousey was there. I'm not sure why she's there. Nobody likes. I don't know why she's there. Nobody likes her. I guess she's someone to be marketable. She's marketable, I guess. But
still interest in her, at least from fans. They wouldn't be putting people around like that unless there was some sort of interest to see them. But Ronda Rousey has appeared on the independent circuit after her leaving WWE, so she is clearly open to that.
Yeah, she's marketable, I guess. She's
marketable. She's got a brand. She's got history that people will want to see her again. So,
yeah. Well, you told me what would take me to be interested in pro wrestling and AEW again. Well,
no. First of all, answer what is it that attracts you to pro wrestling? What is it specifically? Is it the wrestling aspect? Is it the flashy lights? You said it wasn't the promos. So, what exactly is it that entices you?
Well, basically storytelling. That's what I'm talking about. I'm going to bring you in
storytelling. You're going to have to be more concise. How?
I'm going to get that
about storytelling. How are they implemented? How is a story told in your eyes?
Well, okay. Can I bring you an example? So,
absolutely.
Can I give you an example? One of my favorite stories, and this is one from AEW. You know when Bryan Danielson went to AEW? Well, he was already in AEW, but when Jon Moxley came back, there was a little program where Bryan Danielson was coming out, and they kind of threw hints out there. They didn't speak to each other yet, but it was when Bryan Danielson came to him and was like, people do want to see us fight, but what if we tag team together? That's what I do like about AEW, because they threw hints. They didn't rush anything, and they let the story tell. And Jon Moxley didn't say anything, but up until he was like, I only fight with them unless I don't fight with them unless I bleed with them. So it ended up leading themselves to a match where Bryan Danielson said, you know what, I will fight. So stuff like that got me invested into the stuff like that. Up until William Regal got involved, stopped Bryan Danielson, and this is where the Blackpool Combat Club started. So to me, there was already a setup, and then there was a twist, and it's subverting your expectations. So stuff like that does interest me. Then there was the Wheeler Yuta that got implemented in, but they didn't rush it, they didn't force it. Although the match was good, I wish they didn't have him kick out 2 to 3 Jon Moxley finishers. But either way, it got the point across. Everything did feel organic, and that was the most interesting part of AEW at the time to me.
Okay, I'm getting confused. Try to explain this to a 5-year-old, okay? Because I'm not understanding the stories. How is a story told to you? I've already gone into detail of that. Well, I don't need a promo. I can literally see them as they emote within the ring, the way they fight, what moves they use. That itself tells a story. You don't have to have one word said, no promo, nothing.
Actually,
Most judgmental
like
community, I can do it. Yes.
Yeah, I did bring that up earlier. The moves they do, the promos they say, things they say, and that's the thing I
But
didn't.
now promos are important. That's what, again, that's why I was confused, because initially you said that, then you went to it's promos and stuff. Oh, is it or not?
No, I said the promos from WWE and AEW bore me. Not because they don't have a character, but I don't know who they are. I'm not sure what I'm listening to or why I'm hearing it.
Oh, okay. So this is a crux of the matter, because this is really important, Bullseye. So because you don't know, like, what happens in WWE if somebody premieres, you've never, what about the Tonga guy, the new guy, or a couple of the new guys that came out for the, whatever, the Roman Reigns bloodline. You didn't know about them before, did you? You didn't know that one of them was wrestling in New Japan, huh?
Actually, I didn't give a shit about them. Like when I saw them, like, who the fuck is this
guy? But are you asking the same questions like with WWE as you are with AEW, where it's like, this is a new person, never heard about them, don't even know about them?
Actually, yes, and this is the thing I have a problem with wrestling in general. I don't know who they are. I'm not sure why I should care about them. And when Roman left, they try to insert Solo as the new tribal chief, and everybody's just chewing it up. Yet the guy hardly has a personality. So he's just, I'm bodyguard, fat, tough guy now, and it's just like, I'm not sure why.
Okay, forget about that. It's again, focus on this. Okay? So people premiere in AEW, you don't know who they are, you're tuned off. Okay. Does the same thing happen with WWE? Do you stay watching through that bullshit or through that stuff that you don't know about?
That's not the point, though, because
it is the point.
I keep up with the product. That doesn't mean I actually watch the shows.
No, right? You stated earlier that you see somebody, you don't know how to follow AEW when they're premiering people or having people that you've never heard about wrestle. Meanwhile, you're willing to stay tuned into WWE while they're doing the exact same thing, and you don't even question it. Do you tune out when you see somebody new premiere on WWE, or do you stay tuned to the product?
I stay tuned to the product.
Okay. So that's the point I'm trying to make, is that would it be the same if you were watching AEW? No, there's clearly a bias. Why? Because you probably prefer the sports entertainment aspect of WWE as opposed to the pro wrestling of AEW. I'm just
pro wrestling. There is pro wrestling in WWE as well. There is pro wrestling in WWE. Like I said before, Paul Levesque likes pro wrestling.
If you can call that wrestling, you have people who have been literally have their wings clipped and have been crippled. They're not allowed to do certain moves, which again, Kevin Owens, for example, on the indies, El Generico, aka Sami Zayn, quite a few people actually who are disallowed from doing certain moves. Everyone's not allowed to do proper chair shots no more.
That's not the case at all, because Triple H allowed AJ Styles to do a burning hammer on Cody Rhodes at Backlash. So that's not the case either. Paul Levesque is actually wanting them to do more crazy shit. Even though they're like allowing blood again.
But you've already shown a fault in your argument, is that you're willing to stay tuned into the WWE product, not knowing about this new person that's coming out, but with AEW, you won't. So that's the point I'm trying to make. And is it really the wrestling aspect? Is it the story aspect that you just described? Because again, how can it can't be the story aspect because you don't know either side.
No, I literally described the story aspect in AEW, why I was keeping up with that at the time. John Moxley and Daniel Bryan, Blackpool Combat Club storyline. Had really nothing to do with the wrestling, not so much. So it's the same thing.
But story can be told in the ring. So again, I'm confused when people say story.
Storyline in a ring as well. I've talked about this already. Story, what they say, why they say it, what moves they do. I talked about, if you watch the terrible booking of Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, I watched it. I watched the entire thing at your recommendation, which you had actually made months earlier, I believe, and I never got around to watching it, but I did watch the entire thing, and I do have to be critical about it. I bounce around quite often. You were bouncing around a fair bit, and it was hard to follow what point you were trying to make. So I mean,
Well, the simple point is that Cody Rhodes is terribly booked, and his story had. If his storyline was supposed to be getting to the WWE Championship, it had nothing to do with the drama that he throughout 2023. It should be pretty that much simple. He's terribly booked.
well, yeah,
But
I saw that when WrestleMania 39.
Yeah, that was the point of that video. But I also brought up like his character in pre-established traits had nothing pre-established traits that lead each other to fight is great storytelling or great character writing. And that's why I brought up the Blackpool Combat Club, because I thought that was a good story.
They're still going on. They're still together, right? That right now, that stuff is looking great because it looks like Castagnoli is going to turn on them. It's really a good storyline, and potentially maybe Daniel Garcia joining them. There's a lot of good stuff going on with the Blackpool Combat Club, and they do continue to show their dominance.
Yeah, that's one still aspect I still liked about AEW and what they did with the Blackpool Combat Club. I did like it, and that's one of the things I thought AEW did very well, along with Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson, and introducing a Japanese talent that I think is still fairly talented still. And I think he developed a fine personality for himself. But that's just me. I don't necessarily see maybe the Blackpool Combat Club is still something interesting. I just haven't seen much of them lately.
But that's the thing, you don't watch the product, so you can't. Of course, you haven't seen them. You just don't watch the product. But if you're watching it, you'll find this stuff. If you're following, AEW online, watching their extra videos that they produce on their YouTube channel, you'd be more aware of the fact that there's still a lot of story to be told.
Perhaps, but I do to keep up with WWE, but I don't. You have to also understand, I do not keep up with the Bloodline. I do not really keep up with anything else that goes on. Like I didn't even keep up with the King of the Ring. That was a lot more wrestling based, very much so. And guess what? The wrestling aspect of WWE had bored a lot of people. They were like, "Hey, please, WWE, stop booking pro wrestling. We want stories." That's AEW's thing. That was a tweet.
Well, I showed those tweets on my show yesterday, and since WrestleMania, basically they've lost about 1 million viewers, I believe, on like watching Raw weekly.
Well, actually, this is funny. They lost 2 million because this was after WrestleMania, and this is one of the things I talked about on one of my streams about WrestleMania 40 ending sucked, was the fact that they reintroduced past legends like John Cena and Undertaker, who had nothing to do with the story in the first place, inserted them, and it overshadowed Roman versus Cody. And thus, when it got 3.82 million views, I believe, on the kickoff, or what do you call it, Fallout show, they lost their views immediately because they didn't capitalize on why John or Undertaker interfered. So that told me is that H just had them go out randomly just to try to get the match over. And what bothered me the most was people going out and saying this was cinema, this is Avengers Endgame bullshit, but it didn't resemble anything like that. The characters they reintroduced had nothing to do with the storyline in the first place, but they try to shoehorn it and try to like bring up like 10 years ago, even though 10 years ago it didn't matter to 10 years right now. So that's how pro wrestling fans are. A lot of and guess what? Like you talk about how WWE likes to appeal to the casuals, right?
No, they themselves have admitted that. Again, I show all the receipts on my show. Yeah, I show those tweets, baby.
Yeah, you mean the one tweet saying no?
You got to go back and watch my show, and not just listen, but watch the graphic that shows up. I know it might be difficult while you're at work or wherever on a small screen and all that, but I'm showing those tweets. I'm showing the names.
Well, that's funny because they're pretty much freaking marks for WWE because they like seeing all these long matches as well. Like the same pro wrestling fans that they love Ilya Dragunov. I don't know if you've seen this, but they were
some of this stuff. I've seen him part of Gunther's group.
Dragunov is Ilya Dragunov was actually wrestling Gunther back in NXT UK. This is funny because when Ilya Dragunov got called up, because one of the reasons why people love Ilya Dragunov was because he's a good wrestler. Okay, they were mad that he lost to Jey Uso. So the fans do love like pro wrestling as well in WWE. It just has a better production, the advantage of production, basically. That's the big thing you gotta notice, is that a lot of pro wrestling fans nowadays want to see a lot of wrestling. That's what Backlash was. There was a lot of 35 and 60-minute matches. Like, they were like hella fun. I don't know if you got that, but yeah. But what I was saying is, like, people liked Ilya Dragunov because he was a good wrestler. So they got mad when he lost to Jey Uso. He should have won. They wanted to see Gunther versus Ilya Dragunov because of a wrestling match. They heard of like back that happened in the UK.
Yeah.
So like pro wrestling fans in WWE do want to see wrestling. They really do. In fact, like,
yeah, I'm not saying that there aren't. I mean, because again, I featured them on my show. Is that there are people that watch all these products and they do want wrestling to be part of the WWE. It's the fact that is not like, of course there's wrestling fans that watch WWE. I used to watch it, but the thing is, they're not catering to those people. It should be evident.
They are actually.
No,
that was a whole.
No, they're not.
They are. That was the whole basis of NXT. That's what H was doing back in NXT. Long matches. Oh, look, what kind of crazy moves they're doing. That's what H was doing down in NXT. He's trying to bring that up to his main roster now.
Okay, well, see, the thing is, we've already seen that this just doesn't work, because anytime that somebody comes up from NXT, it's a downgrade. I'm talking specifically about the main brands, because you don't have the 5-year-old kid who's watching cartoons, then fucking wrestling comes on, they see a commercial for the toys of the wrestler they like. Mama, buy me that. Buy me a t-shirt too, by the way, and all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. They're not catering towards fans of wrestling. They're catering towards those kids who between 5 to 10 is their primary market, literally, when it comes to merch sales and to basically watching the show. And of course they're going to grow out of it. They might stay with it, which aren't that many, and they might come back and tune in, but it's at those key years that it's the merchandise that is really pushing their numbers.
That is true, and I'm not disagreeing with the part where children mostly watch the product, but I'm saying Paul Levesque appeals to the same group that Tony Khan does. He's trying to bring the work rate wrestling aspect, more of that, to his main roster. That's why most of the guys he's pushing are from Black and Gold NXT. Those were the same. Based upon like,
I saw that back in the days of when NXT first started. I did see that, and he does have an understanding of the business, but he also has the understanding of the the stock value and what he has to say to stockholders. And there has been a noticeable change with the booking for WWE. And again, coupled with the weight of having to do so much more talking, because again, they've got to keep the kids tuned in. There is a notable decline.
The talking is actually boring in WWE. There's no actual personality.
Okay, perhaps you say so, but dude, all the tweets that I've shown, there are people that literally say they prefer that. They don't want to see wrestling. It's hilarious.
They're retarded. That's fine.
Again, those are the people that I target. People who want to watch a wrestling show with no wrestling. That's the point I'm trying to make. And again, AEW is where the best wrestle. Literally, the best wrestlers in the world work for them.
Like who?
Okay, Kenny Omega, Bryan Danielson, Will Ospreay, Takeshita, Shibata, Okada. I mean, again, and it's hard for me to. I mean, fucking Orange Cassidy is fucking incredible. If you've actually tuned, again, the match that lives rent free in my mind is his Orange Cassidy versus Osprey, 2019, 2020. I can't remember the date. Several years ago, but damn, was that a fucking? It was at Forbidden Door, I believe. Wow. What a fucking match. I never knew that Orange Cassidy was that good. Love the guy.
I don't know about you, but
there's a lot of people in AEW that aren't not only those 5 that I mentioned that are literally the best on the fucking planet, but you have people that are so close to them that it's only a matter of time that they succeed or surpass them. Nick Wayne, the guy's young, but he is the prodigy. You wait and see. He will surpass Osprey.
Well, let me ask you a question. What makes a good wrestling match?
Depends on if you like pro wrestling, it depends on the style of pro wrestling. I love grappling. Japanese strong style, and I like it when they mix it up, but Japanese strong style is another style that, some people might prefer exclusively. Lucha Libre style, high flying sort of thing, American style wrestling, if you want to call it that, even British style wrestling, which is, again, quite unique. I like a mix. I like when you have people who are technically trained, that they can not only be extremely aerobatic and technical in the ring, but they can also put on that strut, I should say, that mannerism in the ring where they know that the crowd hates them because they're a heel, and they might just, do a little grin to the audience, and, like, again, tell a story. Like, I'm better than this guy. I don't even have to have I have my back to him. I'm just laughing now because I just slammed him on the mat, and I'm just going to look at the audience and tell them how stupid they are. That's more storytelling. But honestly, I like a variety, and I love, again, AEW for allowing for that, because you have people who are technically trained in doing multiple forms of wrestling, and it looks great, again, going against other technical wrestlers that have that same skill. You never know what you're going to see.
So it's the unpredictability with each and every style clashing, and it.
Yes, and also to see the different styles, because that's something that really bothered me with WWE for a while, at least, a while ago. They've changed, obviously, but you see still a lot of it is that there's only one style that's being featured. Not one style, but there's just a couple of styles. You got the Lucha Libre style, and you've got the American wrestling style. You really don't have Japanese strong style. And again, certain moves are limited and so forth. It's the manner that I guess the match is run and what styles are available there, but it's also the storytelling, because, again, Osprey and Danielson, when they had that match at Dynasty, they were telling a story at each other by the moves that they were using, as well as the looks that they had on their face when they realized, shit, I wasn't able to pin him with my signature move and stuff. And you could, again, it's like a stage show. Obviously, it's scripted and so forth, but they are trying. These people are also actors and stuff, apart from athletes. They've got to emote. They've got to show the concern on their face, and they've got to sell it. It's just part of the show, but they do that.
I'm more of that. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't like the Blackpool Combat Club, is what they try to do with it, with stories they try to tell. And I thought William Regal was a great insert to that until he went back to WWE. But either way,
I thought so too. I mean, initially, and this is another time I was wrong on Tony. I thought, okay, well, yet another former WWE guy. You got Regal coming in now. What's this about the Blackpool Combat Club? Like, all these guys are sticking together. Yeah, I like their stuff. I don't know how they're going to work together and all that. And I was proven wrong. That it's become such a great portion of AEW. But yeah, that's another time that I'm wrong in my judgment of Tony Khan. So there's been multiple times where I'm doubting his booking, I'm doubting his decisions and stuff, and yet the end result is me saying, shit, I was wrong, and this is much more enjoyable than I could even imagine.
Yeah, but what do you say to the ratings of AEW right now, though? What do you think of them?
Well, obviously, they need to improve on that because that just helps sell the product. Is that going to kill the company? Certainly not. They are trying new things. They're trying different markets. They realize that they've got to ensure that they continue to get numbers. But we do always see a trend. I was actually going to say this in the chat. King Meow Meow said that the AEW is massively declining as well. Yeah, right now we're seeing a large number of people just tuning out of the shows, both of them. And this is actually something I noticed, again, working with Cronin for the longest time, where you start to really look at the math and the numbers, and you start to see, oh, during this time of year, people just tune out. It's beautiful weather out there. People are getting out and stuff, and they don't want to be stuck in front of the TV for 3 hours like Raw tonight. But then again, as the weather gets colder, people start tuning in more and more. These recent numbers are understandable. But yeah, AEW needs to improve their numbers. They have seen a decline, but they're also working on these deals in the background and such. So again, looking for these larger markets as well as tours and stuff, because they're considering going over to Japan and Australia. That was hindered because of the pandemic, but they can certainly get more eyes on their stuff if they focus more marketing. And how the fuck do I know how to market this stuff? I don't. But I certainly agree with you that the numbers are lagging. They could be a lot better because we've seen them to be a lot better. We got to take environmental considerations into mind, summer and all that. But even still, it would be good to see the product improve with its numbers, because again, you're just getting wrestling out to people who might not know about it or who haven't watched it in a long time, and they tune into a new product. They're not scared of tuning in and never knowing whose story is what because they're new to it, but they're willing to sit through it and be like, I don't know, I like that guy's style. Let me keep tuning in. Maybe I'll learn more about him. And eventually they do, because the story continues to be told.
Yeah. But what do you think of the WrestleMania 40 ending? Based on your opinion, what do you think of that ending?
With Cody?
With Cody winning the title along with like John Cena, Undertaker returning with a big parade or celebration in the end. What do you think of that?
It was lackluster to me. I did tune in. That was the first time I've tuned into a pay-per-view in who knows how long. At WWE pay-per-view. But I tuned into it. I watched it, trying to be open-minded. Again, I'm not like these WWE drones who goes into things and wants to hate immediately. Again, I started with WWE. I want it to improve because it only makes everybody better. And I tuned in with an open mind, hoping that it would be not what I imagined for Cody, but what's deserved, because the guy did put in a lot of time even before he left for AEW. And I liked some of his stories back in the day. It's unfortunate the way he was treated. It's unfortunate the way his father was treated. I found the match lackluster. The whole, I think it's bloodline rules that anybody can pop up anywhere. Just a really cheap gimmick to get all these former full-timers into the ring. And, whether it be Cena popping up and he keeps trying to push the hair over his bald spot. Poor guy. He did that so many times in that part of the match. You got the Undertaker showing up. I personally thought that, I would have liked if Dustin Rhodes had actually been allowed by WWE. It wasn't AEW that was preventing him from doing this, from my knowledge, but he was there watching his brother win. I would have liked him to pop up in the ring, but it was silly. It was just a lackluster match. I thought that Cody deserved better, but it is what it is.
He deserves better.
I think he does, at least, again, because of the work that he did previously prior to leaving for AEW and the Indies, actually, first of all. But I thought that also the presentation of the win could have been better. The bloodline rules doesn't do it for me. Seeing these Hall of Famers and part timers just pop up out of the blue it doesn't do anything for me.
I don't know. Like Cody Rhodes was given plenty in WWE. He was allowed to win Royal Rumble, main event, several WrestleManias, win another Royal Rumble, won a War Games, and won.
See, it doesn't matter because the whole point is he's got to finish the story. He was supposed to do that at WrestleMania 39. They decided to change it up on him. You can see when The Rock whispers in his ear. And this further article came out this week where he was supposed to be acting all happy, like, yeah, man, you got that opportunity. Like, I'm willing to step back and let you take care of business, sort of thing. Meanwhile, you see the guy was told that, he's about to die, and the grim look on his face. That story could have been finished at 39,
And when he returned, he only returned to the Royal Rumble to win it. And to be quite frank, that was when the story actually started to kick off. So it started with, and I actually liked the promos they did with each other. It was actually very good, very good. So I thought Cody Rhodes was going to win at the time, and when it turns out he didn't, and I guess they just had something better planned, not for Cody, but yes, for Roman. So my question is, why not Jey Uso? Because that story was going on with the Bloodline Civil War, or LA Knight when he was the challenger. He was the most over throughout the summer, or even Randy Orton when he returned with the biggest angle of "I want revenge of the Bloodline." To me, like you say the guy deserves it more, but you had three other guys that
not deserves it. Is again, the story was fed for 2 years. Finish the story. It's just like, okay, finish the fucking story for fuck's sake. Okay, let's just get it done. Again, I've got nothing invested. I got no dog in the fight when it comes to WWE. They can do whatever they want. But if Cody's going to go back there and the whole premise of his appearance is to finish the story, then you'd expect them to do so in a manner that it would satisfy people. And, clearly
that's funny because actually, once he won the title, a lot of people on them afterwards because, like, okay, this guy's boring. He's not a good champion, this, that, and the other. So when they finally put the title on them, it kind of just shows how boring he was. And he hasn't really changed much
at all. I'm just talking about storyline. Again, story. People start to realize that Cody really is just a mid-carder. He's not anything special when it comes to wrestling. Can he wrestle? Yeah, absolutely. He's not bad at it. But he's no Danielson. He's no fucking Ospreay. He's no Strickland. But whatever. If people like him, that's great. Finally won the title. I know people think
I guess,
now, but blame WWE and their booking, I guess.
Chase down. That's pretty much anything you would like to say about.
Yeah, you should go back and listen to my stuff, but also watch the graphics that are displayed. Because I think that's all there for you to make up your mind in regards to this sort of thing. But be sure to tune into my next episode on this Sunday, which will also be it will be a review of the week of wrestling, giving you all the numbers and details, but also it'll be a preview for the Double or Nothing AEW pay-per-view happening this Sunday. And I may do a watch along. I don't know. I'm not really a big on those things, but we'll see. I prefer to just watch my wrestling, eat my chicken wings. That is a ritual. And yeah, I won't be going live afterwards, but I'll do a prediction show at least. Maybe I'll call it.
Perhaps. Who knows? Either way, that's all I have.
Well, good show. Somebody asked earlier in the chat, what is this show? Spartan King of Texas, is this a wrestling show? Because you started speaking about politics. So is this supposed to be both wrestling and politics? Or is it just...
It's actually going to be a mixture of things. I'm planning Power Slam and policy is just this. I'm planning to combine a lot of things because last time I wanted
but definitely wrestling. So Power Slams is referring to the wrestling aspect, and policy is about what? Politics, more stuff.
Yeah, politics, basically. I think I should have. Yeah, I think I should have incorporated more to the power slam and policy, because it's a plan of like a mixture of what I want to talk about. And believe it or not, pro wrestling has a little bit more politics going on right now. It's just like it's kind of bullshit.
Well, there's certainly
Like-
always politics in wrestling.
Yeah, and that's kind of one thing I do want to talk about. Also, the video game industry. I'm hoping I can mix that in a little bit, because one of the things I noticed about like GTA 6 is the new female protagonist. And I don't know why the video game industry even has to pander to these 1% of people, but like majority of men play GTA. I'm not sure why we have to start out with a female character. So like a lot of there's a lot of pandering. Like Last of Us 2 had a lot of pandering. Like a lot of industries have killed Marvel video games for a lot of people, because they want to shoehorn their own ideas and woke bullshit into games, killing it for everybody else. It makes you wonder. So this is what I like to say. Like, if you're so good, if you're so creative, and you want to promote these things, why not make your own original game that is solely based on woke stuff, instead of like shoehorning it into another game that doesn't belong there in the first place? They did that with Spider-Man 2 in the video game. They there's one mission, like you have to get a gay person and another gay person to get up to prom. I'm like, well, why is this a necessary part of the story? It's just like, well, why is this even there? Why am I seeing this? I know. That's one things I do want to talk about. I'm not sure if you would like to talk about it. That's fine. I'm willing to. What do you think?
On what topic now?
Oh, you didn't catch what I was saying? Okay, I was talking about how a lot of people that think they're so clever shoehorning this. Okay, if you're so good and you want to promote these bullshit on stuff, why not make your own video game based upon those aspects, instead of like shoehorning it into other franchises that don't belong there in the first place? To summarize.
Yeah, I mean, like, we could go into a discussion of that if you want, but the simple answer is because Marxists have infiltrated just about every aspect of society, and it's such a pushing their Marxist ideology onto people. They don't want these brands actually to. That's the same reason why they push these shits through movies. They don't want these brands to survive. They're just, and again, they're the ones funding it. They want to subvert the populace and demoralize them. Brezmanov, again, I believe I've shared this link with you, but this KGB defector in the 80s basically made this 2-hour-long video interview where he explains exactly how he was instructed by the KGB how they were going to be taking down Western society, and that included subversion, infiltration as opposed to invasion, and basically implementing these policies. That's the main reason why you see everything going the way it is. They're trying to convince people that the nuclear family is bad, but that's what's worked for the last 50,000 years plus, so that our society can continue, that humanity can survive. They're telling people that they're different genders than they are, which is demonic, and you can find that in Talmud. And they're basically trying to erase history. This is exactly right out of, we saw this in Russia when the Bolsheviks took over. They erase history and rewrite it the way they want to. And Orwell laid it out in 1984. I don't know if you've ever fully read that book, but it's like a blueprint. It's literally like a blueprint. Now, I'm not going to go into detail as to how he knew this stuff. I could tell you some other time, but the fact is it's right there. If you've bothered to read this stuff, it's just so black and white. You wonder how somebody could have known that stuff, but it's got the playbook right there if you really want to know what's happening and what's going to happen.
Yeah, pretty much. And I would just say, like, yes, the Marxists have taken over, but basically, like, it's people that have this like high basically arrogance to them, that they think they can do what they want. And they've actually
inflated self of worth is what you were going for. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and they'll actually self-insert themselves into games. There's one gal, head writer of Spider-Man 2, that made Mary Jane a self-insert of herself, and she was just hideous to look at. I'm like,
oh yeah, I saw the very fat looking pig.
Yeah, yes. And it tells you who actually there's a reason why that game sucked in the first place. It was not good. It's like when it's like, why am I seeing this stuff? That's why I think about it. It's like this is the best person you can find, really. So anyway, that's
Well, I'm sure you want to wrap up.
Yeah, I'm gonna wrap a few things up. I have a few things I do want to say about Israel versus Palestine, because.
So you want me to jump off so I don't interrupt you?
You can stay on if you want, but I'm gonna make this quick. So
no, I'll jump off, and you won't have me interrupting. But yeah, it was a good time. Be sure to tune into my show, because you will be enlightened as to what is going on in AEW. I think it may entice you, and if it doesn't, sorry. But AEW is where it's at. I look forward to these new shows. I'm sure that I was an inspiration, because now you've got your own podcast. But and again, I created the whole concept of podcasts in 2005. Everyone knows that. But yeah, so you have a good one. Thank you for the show, and I look forward to continuing to listen.
All right, I'll make this quick then. So Israel versus Palestine. Yeah, so I'm gonna go over a few things about the stuff. Like, so either way, when I was talking about pro wrestling and when I talked about policy, so I just make this quick. So, Israel versus Palestine. I never seen a lot of people not understand one simple concept. Like, one wants the land, the other wants to keep it. Well, basically, it's just two people fighting over land that belongs to Christians, right? What I find kind of bizarre is that there's a lot of right-wingers defending Israel, and they're actually like defending them. Actually, like, okay, you can't hold people hostage throughout their entire lives and expect them not to fight back. I mean, what were they expecting? And then they're called like the Hamas terrorists. They attack them. Okay, but what do you expect them to do? Just to be like, okay, we'll be fucking hostages and fucking suffer. Is that what they want? It is weird, because like a lot of the same people, like I've seen Charlie Kirk talk about how he went to Israel, and he was talking about, I've seen the rise of Jesus, I've seen this and seen that. If you were over there, you would have been in Palestine, because Jerusalem and Bethlehem are located in Palestine, which is the West Bank. And he's talking about how he saw the resurrection of Jesus, but you would have been in Palestine if you saw that. So it's just like a lot of people are just talking out their ass at that point. So it's weird. Like, I don't know why people talk about this stuff and they have this like pro-Israel stance, but they don't want to be pro-Ukrainian. You should have the same mentality for Israel, basically. I just really find it bizarre, but they're grifters at the end of the day. They go for what's popular. So there you go. So it's weird to me. Yes, I am saying there's people that don't even know where the Jerusalem and Bethlehem are located. That's the way it is. Also, Jewish people killed Jesus. They got the Romans that slung him up on the cross. Killed him. It's what is it called? Judaism? Yeah, they practice that. So that's one thing I'd say. Yeah, there isn't much to go off of, but there is a lot of articles that are just pro-Palestine as well, like ridiculous amount of pro-Palestine. There's one article that talks about how, which doesn't really make sense, is that they were talking about how Israel killed 72,000 people and only 30 millions died. Like, Israel's bad. I'm just sitting here like, what sense does that even make? How did you even get those numbers? What? Like, there's so much articles you could read. It's just like, oh my God. Like, you might as well be sitting there screaming you're a leftist. And there's some that you might as well just sit there be screaming you're a right-wing dumbass. They'll shoehorn and project whatever they want on that war. When realistically speaking, they've been fighting since 1948. They got they were recognized as an independent state or country. And it's also talking about first it was Russia in 1997. Well, it was 1997, I believe, that Jews finally got their own province. And it was Russia that recognized them as first independence. Then it was the United States. So either way, they've been fighting and shit. So I guess how it went down is U.S. or Russia was Israel, Jewish people will stay in Israel whether you like it or not, and they had to sign the treaty. Plus, Israel has always had the military backing of the United States, so you can tell how things went down. I covered everything now. 1 hour. So should I do another episode? Ever? Depends. Power slams policy. I'm going to have a lot more planned if I do this, but that being said, there are videos coming. Seth Rollins' video is one of them. I might do one on video games, just more coverage on that one. And then I might even do what else should I do? Maybe. Who knows? There's a lot of options. Maybe the Trump trial. Maybe I should talk about that eventually. And how I think that's bullshit. Maybe the election fraud. 2020 election fraud. Who knows? There's plenty to cover. BlackRock, maybe. Either way, I think I just got this one out, and I hope next time Power Slams Policy Podcast. I don't know if this might be a one-off though. I don't know. That's if I'm actually feeling up to doing podcasts. Well, we'll see. Anyway, Seth Rollins' video coming out soon. See you later. Thanks for tuning in. I shall see you, well, if I'm still alive, another time. Here's Mark Kelly. And here's that. Have a nice day.